Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Comic Kid here again, and today we are looking at some of the best places to start reading Avengers comics. Now, this is a bit of a shorter list, and it does feature a lot of more modern stuff, but I tried to keep it around stuff that's specifically Avengers and not event books. So while Infinity Gauntlet and like Infinity War and stuff like Secret Wars also can all be considered Avengers stories, today's list is going to focus specifically on Avengers titles. Now, because there's so much history to these characters, the reason they're all a bit more modern is to kind of get newer readers caught up. And so I'm not at all trying to say that like the old stuff is bad or that it's not worth reading, but the purpose of this video is kind of designed to get newer readers caught up to the more current and modern Avengers books anyways. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started then. Alrighty, first up is going to be Avengers Disassembled. This one is written by Brian Michael Bendis and illustrated by David Finch. And you'd think with Disassembled being in the title that it would not exactly be a great place to start for these characters, but in all honesty, it really kind of is. It features a wide array of characters and gives you a brief rundown of who's who, and it also kind of gives you a brief history for the team as well. And so whenever something happens, they're always kind of like, oh, this is like back when this happened instead. And so it kind of fills you in on a lot of Avengers history without directly showing it to you. With that in mind, this also set up some massive changes for the Marvel Universe going forward. It leads into the New Avengers run, also by Bendis, and eventually the House of M stuff. And basically everything from this point on kind of leads up to the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. And so while there's a lot in between each series, this is still a pretty good place to start with the characters. Again, you're gonna have some questions, you're gonna be confused at times, but if you jump on at this point and read from this point onward in some of the bigger titles, this will definitely be a good one for you to start with. Now, next up, as I kind of already mentioned, will be Brian Michael Bendis' New Avengers run. This is actually considered to be one of the better runs on any Avengers books by a lot of people, and particularly the lineup of the team plays a huge factor in that. You have your big names like Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, and then a few smaller tier characters, especially like Sentry, as an addition as well. But Bendis really did a good job of rebooting the team in this series, and he wrote everyone really well. It is a longer running series as well, but for me it kind of got a little stale after Civil War. It's not like awful or unreadable after that, but there are some massive changes again to the series and the team, and so I think Civil War is like volume 5 or 6. And I didn't love it as much as I did after that. Now, Bendis has also written several other New Avengers and even Avengers titles, but for me, this was really his strongest point. I think a lot of you guys will like this as well, especially given the lineup and just how well the characters kind of play off of each other. So while it may not be the best Avengers story out there, it is a really good one to read. Now, unfortunately, it is out of print. Avengers Disassembled is actually out of print as well. I don't think I mentioned that before, so both of those might be a little harder to find, but if you can get your hands on them, I do recommend them, especially if you're new to comics. Now, next up is gonna be Uncanny Avengers. This is the original Marvel Now series and was written by Rick Remender and illustrated by John Cassaday. And this series focuses a lot on the team after the events of AVX. Essentially, the Avengers are being reassembled, and this team is specifically designed to have both X-Men and Avengers characters on the roster. It does a great job in having a great cast from both teams, and Rick Remender is just a fantastic author in general, so I highly recommend this series. There was another one that kind of ran just after this, with like Deadpool as well, and it wasn't bad, but I definitely felt as though this were the stronger of the two, and especially being a new Avengers team as part of a major quote-unquote reboot event, this will be a great place to jump on. Again, you're gonna have some questions. If you haven't read Avengers vs. X-Men, you might be a little confused as to some stuff that they're talking about in here. But overall, it's a simply great story and easily just a great place to start reading Avengers. Now, last but not least, we have the Avengers series by Jonathan Hickman. Like with Rick Remender, Hickman picked up the main Avengers title following the events of AVX, and he actually wrote it all the way up until the 2015 Secret Wars event. Hickman also wrote several other Avengers and related titles around this time as well, but the Avengers itself was definitely the main one. Hickman also wrote events like Infinity, which dealt with a major Thanos crossover between all the teams, but where he really succeeds is in his characterization. Again, Hickman just found a really strong voice for a bunch of variety of characters. He had a constantly rotating cast and covered a lot of big names. The first arc itself in this series, which I believe is 1 through 5, doesn't have much to do with what follows, but it is still an essential read in my opinion, but everything after the first arc especially all just continues to build on itself. And Hickman did just a really good job with the entire thing leading up to Secret Wars itself. That said, you do kind of need to read the other books that he wrote as well in order to get the full story. Infinity just isn't quite the same event if you just read the main Infinity things. You had to read the other issues that came with it as well, so I definitely would recommend reading it in the collected format. But it's really hard to deny just the massive impact that Jonathan Hickman had on the Avengers in general. Again, it is a very long run, so if you were to start with Volume 1, you would definitely have a lot to go off of. I think the Avengers title alone went up to 6 volumes before it switched to the Time Runs Out, where I think it got another 4 after that, and then if you count all the other Avengers titles that he wrote during this time, that's an extra couple graphic novels there as well. So between being modern and its wide array of characters as well, Jonathan Hickman's Avengers run is definitely one of the strongest points in Avengers history, at least in my opinion. But that's everything we have for you guys today. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see going forward down in the comments. Feel free to click like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again real soon.